What is going on, amigos? Carter here. This video I'm going to tackle a subject, knife hype, kind of, or at least part of that subject, in my true fashion on this channel. I've got an idea of something I want to explore. I'm going to talk about it. It may or may not go as well as I'm hoping. I may or may not include all the points I want to say, and it may or may not end up being published on YouTube, but we'll see how it goes. Basically what started this video is I picked up some cold steels just because I wanted to. They're inexpensive, they're fun. Picked up some cold steels, some extra larges, and then I also picked up this large Voyager clip point here. I've talked about it before, a couple of times actually, and I carried it around a day or two. I let my wife use it, and you know, it's a great knife. It is a great knife, and kind of what inspired this video is the fact that I kind of struggled with carrying this knife, which is perfectly acceptable. It worked for all my needs. It's inexpensive, it's great, but it's kind of hard to carry a knife like this when you have something like an Zahn at home. And that kind of sparked the thought process of, well, what exactly does the Zahn offer that this Voyager doesn't offer? That's a theme that shows up on my channel all the time, especially when I show more expensive knives. A lot of people, well, maybe not a lot, but some people kind of get defensive with that, and they kind of take it as an insult, like I'm saying, and not just me, but general knife community saying that, you know, that knife is better than their knife because it costs more, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So a lot of the times they take the defensive stance and they fire comments back saying, you know, well, my whatever can do just as much as that, or it's all hype and overpriced, and you know, you're paying for the brand and the hype and things like that. So I kind of wanted just to address that in this video. And first off, I'm just going to be blunt. Yeah, it is hype. It is. It is hype. And anybody that says it isn't is kind of either lying to themselves or lying to you, or maybe they don't really understand what hype is, or what kind of that third level of coolness is that, you know, things can provide. And basically I'm going to use a lot of analogies because I do that a lot when I prove my points, but it's kind of like a car. You could pick up a brand new stripped down Honda Civic, or you could pick up a brand new Lexus, and they're both going to get you from A to B. They're both going to be relatively gray cars. You know, you're dealing with the same basic functionality, but what you're paying for with the Lexus is status, brand, and then amenities and extra features. You know, things like the navigation, the backup camera, leather seats, heated seats, all those little bells and whistles, which aren't necessary for its core functionality, which is to transport you. They're not necessary, but they make it a little more comfortable, and they also give you more pride of ownership and kind of inflate your ego. And the same thing with knives. I mean, really, when you're looking at these two knives, they've got relatively similar blade shapes. This part's going to piss people off, but in the grand scheme of things, steel, we're not talking huge differences. You know, for people that are really into steels and they really look down into their properties and things, to them it's a huge difference. S35VN compared to AS8, that's like comparing Pluto to the sun. But if you step back and just look at it kind of in the larger scheme of things, they're both modern stainless steels, and they both perform well. We're not talking like, you know, this is cast iron blade compared to a modern stainless steel. They're both modern stainless steels. And yeah, the properties are going to vary, but on a pretty small scale when you really consider the bigger picture. They're both fine steels that most people, if you were to get both these knives into non-knife people's hands and just have them use it, they wouldn't tell the difference between the two. I doubt, well, okay, maybe I won't say they won't, but I doubt they would tell the difference. You know, if maybe you set up a test form and said, cut this much with this one, cut this much with this one, sharpen it, can you tell the difference? Sure. But if you just give it to them and a month later they sharpen it, they wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, this one dulled a little quicker than this one. it all comes out in the wash, is basically what I'm saying. And this is also a very nicely crafted and designed blade. It's outsourced to Taiwan, and it uses inexpensive materials, and it uses manufacturing processes that are efficient, i.e., casting scales out of Zytel Grivery, as opposed to milling down titanium. But relatively, these knives are going to perform about the same for you. But then you look at the price point. So this is about a $40 knife, and this is about a $400 knife. And for some people, that is just, whoa, that's just too big of a discrepancy for basically something that will perform just as good for you. And that's fine, because what that basically means is that you're looking for efficiency and affordability and functionality, and which is what most of Cold Steel's target audience is. Non-knife people that just want a strong, inexpensive knife. This is geared towards knife people, people that love knives, people that used to own these back in the day, or maybe started with these, and they're on the forums, they're communicating with other knife people, they take pride in things they own, and they want to translate that to what they carry. They want this to be a symbol of where they are in their knife journey, I guess you would say. They want this to represent, you see somebody with a Strider, a Hinderer, Chris Reeve, that's a serious, more than likely that's a serious knife person. You can go out to them and you can start talking knives, because in order to have gone to this level, they probably have spent a lot of time, like I said, on the forums with different lesser knives, not lesser, but more inexpensive knives. If you come across somebody with a Voyager, you've got probably a 1 in 10 chance that person gives a crap about knives. They may have just been somebody that walked into a store and said, I need a strong, inexpensive knife. They said, here's this. And that was it. And they're like, okay, it works. And they carry it every day. They don't intend on having a collection or buying more or upgrading. They're not on the forums. They're not, what's Cold Steel doing in 2013? They got their knife. It works. That's it. They're done. They don't need any more. They got their shoes. They got their knife. They got their keys. They got their wallet. Until one of them breaks or wears out, they don't need another. There's a good chance you're going to run into that guy with one of these. So what I'm saying is, there is status involved in this knife. There is, what I would call hype, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. To take pride in things you own and want to kind of grow in terms of quality, I don't see why that would be looked at as a bad thing, and yet some people do. Some people look at it as a kind of a fault, that you would pay extra money for something like that. And I don't see why that would be the case at all. Same with watches. If you're a big fan of watches, you don't just go to Walmart and buy an $8 watch. I mean, maybe at first, maybe that's what gets you into it, or maybe that's what you get when that's all you can afford, but your goal is to get something really nice, something that represents quality and pride of ownership. Same thing with this. So, aside from the rambling, what I was trying to clarify with this video is why can't they just coexist? Why can't we say, yeah, there is hype involved in this knife? No, it is not a bad thing. And if you don't want to buy that hype or don't want to spend that money on something like this, then fine. Stay with this. Vice versa. I don't understand why there's animosity between the two. Why knife snobs look down at people that like Cold Steels, or why people that can only afford or only want to afford, because that's two different categories, Cold Steels, look down at these people like they're being had, by corporate gimmicks. They're being taken advantage of, and they're stupid for spending extra money on something that doesn't give them necessarily more advantage or practical applications than something like this. I just don't get it. Where's the love, people? Why all the hate? That's the point of the video. Can't we all just get along? Alright guys, I'm done. I'll talk to you later. See ya.